Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at something that might seem pretty simple at first, checklists.
Hmm.
But as we dig in, we're going to uncover just how powerful they can really be.
Yeah.
It's like imagine you're about to perform surgery or pilot a plane or construct a skyscraper,
Right.
feeling a little overwhelmed yet.
Oh, wait, yeah.
Well, it turns out there's this surprisingly effective tool that can actually significantly boost your chances of success in like all of those scenarios.
Yeah.
And that is the checklist.
It really is fascinating how we often associate checklists with like simple everyday tasks, like grocery shopping or packing for a trip.
Yeah.
But the real magic happens when they're applied to those complex, high-stakes situations where like even the smallest oversight can have some major consequences.
Exactly. And to explore this, we've got a great mix of sources today. We're going to be drawing from the Checklist Manifesto by Atul Gawande, who's a surgeon who's become like a leading voice on the power of checklists in medicine. We'll also take a look into the world of aviation checklist creation at Boeing, where meticulous attention to detail is absolutely paramount.
Yeah.
To bring it all home, we'll examine how checklists are being implemented in hospitals all around the globe.
That combination really gives us a chance to see how checklists work across a bunch of different fields.
Absolutely.
Like from like the highly technical to more everyday work.
Okay, so let's jump right in. Gawande opens his book with this story about a surgeon who almost lost a patient because a seemingly simple question wasn't asked.
Oh, wow.
And it turns out the patient had been stabbed with, get this, a bayonet.
A bayonet.
A bayonet.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's intense.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And this case highlights a really, really crucial point, I think. As our world is getting more complex, even the best experts can miss critical details.
Yeah.
And that can lead to some pretty serious consequences.
For sure.
It really makes you think about all those things we take for granted. All those seemingly small steps that can make such a huge difference.
Right.
And Gawande actually argues that we've moved from an era of ignorance to an era of ineptitude. Basically, like, we have the knowledge to succeed, but putting that knowledge into practice consistently, well, that's where we often stumble. It's like having all the ingredients for a gourmet meal, but forgetting to turn on the oven.
Right. You have the information,
Yeah.
but you're not executing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not enough to simply possess the knowledge. You have to apply it reliably and consistently, in the real world,
Right.
where things are rarely as predictable or controlled as we'd like them to be.
Exactly. And to really like hammer this home, Gawande hears another story, the rescue of a young girl who nearly drowned.
Okay.
This one's incredible. We're talking hours underwater, no pulse, no breathing. It took a massive team working in perfect sync to bring her back.
The sheer number of steps involved,
I know.
the coordination required, the time pressure.
Right.
It's a testament to like the complexity of modern medicine.
Yeah.
And the human capacity to overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles?
Seriously, her survival seems almost miraculous. And that's what makes me think, could a checklist really have helped in a situation that chaotic and high pressure?
That's a great question. It might seem like a stretch, to compare saving a drowning victim to something like flying a plane.
Right.
But the parallels are definitely there. They
Yeah.
both involve complex procedures, technology, human expertise, where even like the tiniest mistake can have some pretty catastrophic results.
That's a great point. And actually, when I think back to the Checklist Manifesto, Gawande talks about the origins of pilot checklists.
Yeah.
And it all started with the B-17 bomber, a plane so complex for its time that it led to the very first pilot checklists. Back then, like, pilots mostly relied on just memory and instinct.
Right.
The B-17, it was a whole different animal.
Yeah, that was like a pivotal moment in aviation. I think people started to realize that even the most skilled pilots, they just couldn't reliably manage all the complexities of these new aircraft
Right.
without some help.
Speaking of help, I had the chance to visit Boeing's checklist factory.
A checklist factory. Yeah.
Like a whole factory dedicated to making checklists.
That's amazing.
I talked with checklist expert Dan Borman, and it was really eye-opening to see just the meticulous process behind creating these things. They analyze crashes, refine procedures, and even develop checklists for like the rarest emergencies, like a cargo door blowout.
It's incredible to think that, something as simple as a checklist can prepare you for something as terrifying as a cargo door blowing out mid-flight.
Right.
Speaking of which, the 1989 United Airlines flight from Honolulu, where a cargo door actually did blow out, is a pretty stark reminder of why these checklists are so important.
Yeah, that story it's chilling. And thankfully, the pilots had a checklist to guide them through that incredibly stressful situation.
Right.
To help them to prioritize actions, prevent a catastrophic decompression. Who knows what would happen if they hadn't had it?
Good checklists aren't about like micromanaging,
Right.
or replacing expertise.
Right.
They're concise, specific, and focus on the most critical steps. They act as like a safety net
Yeah.
to catch those crucial details that might otherwise be missed even by like highly skilled professionals.
Absolutely.
They're like a cognitive aid, helping experts to perform at their best under pressure.
Okay. So we've seen how checklists can prevent disasters in aviation, in surgery, but what about more, down-to-earth applications?
Mhm.
Gawande's work with the WHO Safe Surgery Program provides some really interesting answers.
Yeah.
This program aimed to reduce surgical complications and deaths globally. It involved hospitals from all over, from Tanzania to London.
Imagine the challenge of like adapting checklists to such diverse environments and cultures.
Right.
It really shows how flexible and adaptable the checklist concept can be.
What I found really striking was that the program didn't provide any extra resources to these hospitals, just the checklist and training on how to use it. And the results were amazing. A surgeon in London who was initially skeptical actually became a huge advocate
Oh, wow.
after a checklist helped him avoid a major error. And in an Indian hospital, the checklist helped them to uncover a flaw in their antibiotic administration system. It's amazing how, a simple piece of paper can have such a profound impact.
It is. And the WHO study showed a remarkable 36% reduction in major complications
Wow.
and a 47% reduction in deaths,
Wow.
all from using checklists.
That's incredible.
It's a powerful testament to, their effectiveness, especially given that no extra resources were given to the hospital.
Right. So we're not saying checklists are like a magic cure-all, right? But Gawande does explore how they've been used in fields beyond healthcare, like finance and investing. He talks about investors Monish Pabrai and Guy Spire, who started incorporating checklists into their decision-making process, and they saw big improvements in efficiency and accuracy.
What's fascinating is how checklists can help us to overcome our own cognitive biases.
Right.
We all have tendencies to overlook information or skip steps,
Yeah.
especially when we're stressed or dealing with like familiar routines.
Yeah.
Checklists act as a safeguard against these inherent human fallibilities.
If checklists can help investors make better decisions about millions of dollars, surely they can be useful for the rest of us who aren't dealing with such high stakes, right?
Absolutely.
Think about planning a vacation or organizing a project or even just making sure you don't leave the house without your keys.
Exactly. Checklists can be applied to any field where, complexity and that potential for error exists. They help us to overcome those cognitive biases, avoid skipping those essential steps, and make better decisions as a team.
Right. And this brings us to an interesting point about heroism.
Yeah.
We often think of heroes as people who perform like extraordinary feats of skill and daring.
Yeah.
But Gawande argues that true heroism often lies in the discipline of following procedures and preparing for the unexpected.
He illustrates this brilliantly with the story of U.S. Airways Flight 1549, the miracle on the Hudson. Captain Sully Sullenberger landed a plane in the Hudson River after a bird strike,
Right.
saving all 155 passengers.
Yeah, that was an incredible display of airmanship, no question. But we often overlook the role that, checklists and procedures played in that success.
For sure.
Sullenberger and his co-pilot meticulously followed their checklists, even in a moment of extreme crisis, and that was like a key factor in their ability to land that plane safely. They didn't just wing it.
Right.
They relied on the systems that they had in place.
It's a powerful example of how true heroism often lies not in individual brilliance, but in the discipline to follow procedures, work effectively as a team, and, prepare for the unexpected. It challenges our traditional notions of heroism and highlights the unsung power of systems and processes.
So we've seen how checklists can prevent disasters in aviation, surgery, even investing. But what does this all mean for our listener today?
Yeah.
Where do checklists fit into their everyday life?
That's the question, isn't it? What areas of your work or personal life could benefit from a checklist?
Right.
Are there tasks you do regularly that involve like multiple steps or a high potential for error?
Yeah.
Are there projects where, collaboration and clear communication are essential?
Think about those times when you've forgotten something important, or made a careless mistake, or felt overwhelmed by the sheer number of things to keep track of.
Right.
Could a checklist help you to avoid those pitfalls
Yeah.
and achieve better outcomes?
It might be worth experimenting and seeing for yourself.
Absolutely.
Even small, seemingly insignificant tasks can be improved with the right checklist. It's not about creating like rigid bureaucratic procedures.
Right.
It's about finding those simple, effective ways to enhance your performance and reduce the risk of errors.
Right.
The key is to tailor the checklist to your specific needs and context.
And who knows, maybe embracing the power of checklists will unlock a hidden hero within you. The hero of organization, the champion of efficiency, the master of avoiding those little everyday disasters that can derail our best efforts.
It's an empowering thought, isn't it? That we all have the capacity to improve our performance and achieve greater success, even in the face of complexity,
Right.
by embracing a tool as simple and humble as a checklist.
It's funny, we often think of checklists as these kind of rigid top-down tools.
Right.
But Gawande actually points out how they can be incredibly empowering, especially in like team settings. He talks about this activation phenomenon in surgery, where nurses were encouraged to speak up at the start of procedures.
Okay.
And they ended up catching potential problems and suggesting solutions way more often.
That's a great example of how checklists can foster like a culture of shared responsibility.
Right.
They can help break down those hierarchies and empower everyone on the team to contribute their expertise, regardless of their role or seniority.
It's like that old saying, two heads are better than one.
Yeah.
But like amplified.
Right.
A well-designed checklist ensures that those heads work together effectively.
Right.
Sharing information and catching those potential errors
Right.
before they become major issues.
And that's crucial because, as we've seen, even experts make mistakes.
Yeah.
Especially when dealing with complex tasks or those high-pressure situations.
Right.
Checklists provide that extra layer of safety and accountability.
It's a good reminder that none of us are infallible.
Yeah.
Even the most brilliant minds, they can benefit from those systems and processes
Yeah.
that help us stay focused, organized, accountable.
Absolutely. It's not about, diminishing individual expertise.
Right.
It's about amplifying it through collaboration and a shared commitment to excellence.
Right.
Checklists can be like a powerful tool for achieving that collective excellence.
Well said. So, as we kind of wrap up our deep dive into the world of checklists,
Yeah.
I hope you've gained a new appreciation for this often underestimated tool.
It's been a fascinating journey, and I hope our listener has walked away with some new insights and inspiration to apply these concepts to their own lives.
Yeah. Whether you're a surgeon, a
Yeah.
pilot, an investor, or just someone looking to, boost your everyday performance.
Right.
There's definitely a place for checklists in your toolkit.
The key is to embrace, the principles of clarity, simplicity, practicality. When you're designing and implementing your checklists, don't overcomplicate things. Focus on, the essential steps and make them easy to follow.
And most importantly, don't be afraid to experiment and adapt.
Right.
Find what works best for you and your team and keep refining those checklists based on experience and feedback.
The real power of checklists lies not just in their structure,
Right.
but also in their adaptability.
Yeah.
They can be tailored to any context, no matter how simple or complex.
So go ahead and checklist your way to greater success.
Yeah.
And if you have any amazing checklist stories of your own, we'd love to hear them.
Yeah.
Share them with us on social media.
Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and remember, a well-crafted checklist can be a powerful tool for achieving those extraordinary results.